Democracy is a form of government in which the people have the authority to deliberate and decide legislation. That is called direct democracy, or to choose governing officials to do so. Representative democracy, who is considered part of the people and how authority is shared amongst or delegated by the people, has changed over time and at different rates in different countries. Features of democracy oftentimes include freedom of assembly, association, property rights, freedom of religion and speech, citizenship, consent of the governed, voting rights, freedom from a warranted governmental deprivation of the right to life and liberty, and minority rights. When for any reason a democratically elected leader or president is overthrown or forcefully removed from office by an individual or selected group of individuals by the use of arms, anarchy will become the order of the day. When military personnel are involved, it is called a coup d'etat. Africa, especially in the Sahel region vis-a-vis the West African bloc, in recent times has experienced its fair share of coup d'etat. Coup d'etat is a sudden, decisive exercise of force in politics, especially the violent overthrow or alteration of an existing government by a small group. It is also called coup, the sudden, violent overthrow of an existing government and a small group. The chief requisite for a coup is control of all or part of the armed forces, the police, and other military elements. Unlike a revolution, which is usually achieved by large numbers of people working for basic socio-economic and political change, a coup is a change in power from the top that merely results in the abrupt replacement of leading government personnel. A coup rarely alters the nation's fundamental social and economic policies, nor does it significantly redistribute power amongst competing political groups. The military has been an important institution for protecting states from external threats since antiquity. In fulfilling this fundamental role, military institutions have also posed security risks to their own government, given that the ability to use coercive force, though necessary to defend the nation against threats, create the danger that the military will turn its weapon on the very regime that empowered its existence. Military personnel can fuel civil conflicts and undermine the stability of political regimes, mostly in states with lost political control of the military. In Africa, military institutions have on one hand helped to protect states from both internal and external threats, including local insurgencies. On the other hand, they have destabilized several political regimes through coups d'etats. Military coup, when the military or a section of the military turns its coercive power against the apex of the state, establishes itself there, and the rest of the state takes its order from the new regime. Many analysts believe that coups were going out of fashion in Africa by 2015 due to the limited cases on the continent. At present, coups are widely seen to be on the rise or dangerously back in fashion in Africa, as some countries such as Guinea-Bissau, Guinea, Mali, Chad, Sudan, and Burkina Faso, and now Niger Republic have experienced a series of successful and failed military takeovers over the last 3 years. Apart from the foiled attempt to overthrow Guinea-Bissau current President Umaro Sissoko Embalo on 1 February 2022, Burkina Faso's most recent successful coup, in which President Roch Marc Christian Kabore was deposed by an army led by Lieutenant Colonel Paul Henry Damiba on 24th of January 2022, underscores how West African states are the most burdened by military coup on the continent. This has raised several concerns in the sub-region and questions the relevance of the regional organization, which is the Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS, with respect to the maintenance of peace and security in West Africa. On July 26, 2023, the Presidential Guard in Niger launched a coup and detained President Mohamed Bazoum and his family. Senior officers from various branches of the Defense and Security Forces formed the junta named the National Council for the Safeguarding of Homeland and announced the seizure of power on a televised broadcast. Public response varied, with initial demonstration in support of Bazoum being dispersed by mutinous soldiers, followed by subsequent demonstration in support of the CNSP. By 27th of July, the Nigerian armed forces joined the CNSP, citing their intent to avoid lethal confrontation and to safeguard the president and his family. The coup has largely been condemned internationally, including by key stakeholders like the United States, France, and European Union and ECOWAS. During a summit in Nigeria's capital, Abuja, ECOWAS considered military intervention and threatened sanctions to pressure the junta to reinstate Bazoum by giving a one-week ultimatum. Niger represents the last of the three Central Sahel states to succumb to a military coup after Mali in 2020 and 2021 and two coups in Burkina Faso in 2022. Several reasons have been given for coup in Africa, including modernization, cultural pluralism, soldiers' greed and grievances, poor governance, corruption, autocracy, limited economic growth, and low income levels, amongst other factors. Many of the discussions on the causes of military coup in Africa have focused on internal actors and factors and thus underestimated the pivotal role of foreign entities, while a few external forces such as colonial heritage and the Cold War between the United States of America and the then Soviet Union have been included in the causes of military coups in Africa. Such discussions have not been convincingly presented. Burkina Faso Lieutenant Colonel Paul Henry Damiba cited the failure of the country's ousted president Roch Kabore to contain violence by Islamic militants as a key reason why the military had to stage the most recent coup in West African state, which occurred in January 2022. Damiba and his military colleagues were smart enough to identify a major weakness in Kabore's regime, which is the rising insecurity in Burkina Faso, as a justification for the coup. Also, deep insecurities, weak political leadership, and corruption have been highlighted as key factors that led to Colonel Assimi's Goïta overthrow of Malian President Ba Unda and Prime Minister Mokhtar Ouane in 2020. It follows that the degree of success and failure in coup plots is heavily dependent on the depth of knowledge and quality of tactics mobilization by the military. Any display of incessant power abuse, careless leadership, ill-thought-out political decision, perceived and actual widespread corruption and regime weakness, amongst others, are the factors which distance political leadership from the plight of citizens, increases the chances of military coup occurrence. This is evident in West Africa, where the political system works for the political class that are well paid, that enjoy a lot of goodies from state resources, and who display arrogance and complete lack of concern about the welfare of the citizens, thereby creating conducive conditions for military coup. Jibrin Ibrahim has highlighted how ECOWAS' failure to respond to constitutional coup, that is the elongation of presidential tenures by incumbent presidents and massive electoral fraud, has fueled coups in West Africa. Indeed, political leaders such as Mamadou Tanja of Niger, Abdoulaye Wade of Senegal, and Alpha Condé of Guinea were all forced out of the presidential office by the military after altering their country's constitutions to serve more than 2 terms in office. ECOWAS, infamous for mainly responding to military coup with threats, including setting deadlines for elections and sanctions such as shutting down the borders of coup-affected states. In summary, military coups are in continuation of politics by other means, especially in West Africa, where the political system favors only the political class to the detriment of the masses. Unlike democratic governments with political mandates based on constitutions and election outcomes, amongst other things, the political mandate of military coup leaders stems from the barrel of the gun. The African continent has seen a significant increase in coup, with military figures carrying out takeovers in Burkina Faso, Sudan, Guinea, Chad, and Mali. After Sudan's coup in October 2021, the United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres spoke of an epidemic of coup, including the events in Africa and the February 2021 coup in Myanmar. He described an environment in which some military leaders feel they have total impunity and can do whatever they want because nothing will happen to them.
Regarding the coup in some West Africa countries, personally, or in my own opinion, I would say that is a welcome development. Reason being that the democratic system of government in most of African countries have become a subject of mockery, a mere bugaboo. In a situation whereby the democratic structure that we have in the Africa settings undermine the sovereignty and the right of the people, of the citizens they are made to govern. The structure, the democratic structure in Africa have not given birth to any meaningful development or governance in Africa's setting. In a situation whereby the government is not responsive or responsible to the people, if you look across the Africa continent, there is no meaningful development. Infrastructural decay, there is high level of insecurity in a situation whereby the rights of the citizens are not respected and the citizens are not happy with the government. We have seen a situation whereby a democratic system of government amend their constitution to enable them stay more than as provided for in the law. A situation where high level of corruption have been recorded in Africa. A situation whereby in Africa, the African leaders still depend largely on their counterparts in the Western world to provide leadership in their various countries. A situation whereby the Western leaders still interfere and manipulate the government, the sovereign state in Africa. So, to me, I give kudos that the military must continue to rise up, to engage in a rescue mission, to rescue their countries, to rescue their citizens from the iron grip of this democratic governance that over time they have continued to exploit the people. They have continued to undermine the powers, the rights of the people. It's a welcome development, and I want to advise the ECOWAS and the leaders in Africa to sit back and think, because if you can't find out the root cause of a problem, you can never provide solution to such problem.
I think a lot of persons have applauded the coup that's taking over Africa right now, but for me, I think democracy still remains the best form of government. You wouldn't really blame those who think it's the right move, because our leaders have tend to disappoint us over the years. You see what is going on right now in Nigeria, and the election that just held, how a lot of people felt their mandates were stolen. But still, I feel that a coup should not be a welcome development right now, because we know the antecedents of these military personnel. We'll recall what happened during the time of Abacha, and some of the military head of states that have ruled Africa, they've not also done very well. So I'm of the opinion that we can get it right as a continent, as a nation, by electing the right people always into power. The reason for democracy was because the people wanted to rule themselves and choose their leaders. I think it's high time we as a people stop taking monies on election day to voting the wrong people, and making sure we check the lives of those that we are voting in, check what they've done, the records, before we decide to say this person is capable to rule us. That is the issue of Africa. We've often had bad leaders over time who have continued to churn out bad policies that have affected all of us. And that is why a lot of this agitation for military to come back. But some of us who were already grown or growing up during the era of the military, we don't pray. I don't think anyone will pray that will go back to the time of the military era. So for me, I think we should just get it right. Vote the right people into power, always, and Africa will be the home that we want it to be. ECOWAS itself, I think the leadership of ECOWAS have their own personal issues. Attacking Niger right now is not the right thing to do. I think they should call those the coup plotters, call them into a round table and try and negotiate. Military intervention have never helped any nation. We know what happened in Libya when the US and the French and the United Kingdom invaded Libya, and today they are still suffering the consequence of war. And we know what happened in Liberia and Sierra Leone. So military intervention have never helped any nation. So if they want to really help the people of Niger, I think they should call the coup plotters to the round table and discuss. Having a discussion and a dialogue has always been the best option in every situation like this.
Looking at what is going on in West Africa and other regions of the Africa, I think it's a thing that everyone should be worried about. But nevertheless, when you push a goat to the wall, the goat will bite. What is going on now is a sign that democracy has been killed, democracy has been abused, and that is why you are seeing this revolution. To me, I call it a revolution. And to other countries that are yet to witness it, the only thing they can do, they should go back to the true democracy. When the people are involved in governance, you will not see coup anywhere. But when the people are cut off, let democracy be followed the way it was defined by Abraham Lincoln. The government of the people. The people must be involved. And if they are not involved, there will be a reaction. To every action, on my opinion, there's reaction. What you are seeing now is a reaction to every wrong actions that were taken by our leaders. So to me, I'm not against it, and I am not a support of it. Because to everything, there must be reasons. I'm not against it, I'm not in support of it.
The military taking over the government, call it a coup or whatever you call it, to me, I don't think it's the right face for Nigeria if we have to put Nigeria in their position. Because military taking over, their decision is final. There's no Senate, no House of Rep. Anything they decide, theirs is just death penalty. They don't give no freedom of expressing yourself. I don't think it's the right way to go in Nigeria at all. I believe democracy, there's still hope in future Nigerian democracy. We don't need military coup in Nigeria. It's not good, it's not a good thing. Military, they are meant for war, not to rule or govern the citizens.
Concerning the coup that is going on, in my own opinion, I believe that is not the option for us now. The option for us, because either you are a military or you are a civilian, it is the same Nigeria. Let me say in quotes, it's the same Africa. It is the same thing that runs in the blood of military, that runs in the blood of civilian. All I can advise us is to work on our character. If we have, a brand new mindset concerning our nation that we are in, and knowing fully that in any position we are representing a group of people, and we need to satisfy the group of people rather than satisfy ourselves. Everything will be okay. Everything we don't need to go back to the. Let's work on ourselves. Let's work on our mindset. Let's have love for our great country and have love for ourselves. Because whatever you have in this world, if you have the whole vehicles, you can't drive them once. If you die, is only one place you will enter into. If our brain can be reset and our heart is renewed towards why we are on this earth, I believe everything will be okay for us. I just want to admonish us that let's not just be thinking of that. Work on yourself. Have the love for your fellow brothers, and Nigeria or Africans will be better.
Out of the 54 countries in Africa continent, 45 had at least one coup attempt since 1950. In Africa, a total of 215 coup attempts have been recorded, with 107 successful and 108 failed coup d'etat. The Sahel region, which includes Burkina Faso, Mali, Chad, and Sudan, still experience many of the most common factors that lead to coup. Sudan tops the list as African country with the most coup attempted and successful since 1950, with 17 of those takeover efforts. 6 were successful, including the most recent one in October. While Burkina Faso has had fewer total coup attempts in the same period, it has the highest number of successful coups, with 8, including January's coup. In addition to the most recent post-coup were successfully carried out in Burkina Faso in 1996, 1974, 1980, 1982, 1983, 1987, and 2014. A coup was also attempted in 2015. Nigeria, Africa's most populous nation, had a long history of coup following independence in 1960, with 8 coup attempts, 6 of them successful. Since 1999, the country has transferred power through democratic elections and helped usher in a new era of greater stability in West Africa and the continent as a whole. Here are some countries in Africa that had various attempts of coup and successful coup. In Ghana, 10 coup attempts, 5 successful. Sierra Leone, 10 coup attempts, 5 successful coup overthrow. In Burkina Faso, we have 9 attempts of coup d'etat, 8 of which were successful. In Benin Republic, 8 coup d'etat attempts and 6 were successful. In Nigeria, we have 8 coup d'etat attempts and 6 successful coup. For the country Mali, it was attempted 8 times, but 5 were successful. For Guinea-Bissau, 8 was attempted and 4 were successful. In Togo, we have 7 attempted coup d'etat and 3 were hugely successful. In Niger Republic, it has 8 attempted coup d'etat and 5 successful. For Chad, we have 7 attempted coup d'etat, 2 of which was successful. In Mauritania, 7 attempted coup, 5 hugely successful. For Guinea, we have 6 successful attempts of coup, and we have 3 in Guinea that were utmostly successful. For Liberia, 4 coup attempts with 1 successful coup d'etat. For Ivory Coast, we have 4 coup attempts and 1 was really successful. For the Gambia, 3 coup attempts and 1 successful. Equatorial Guinea, 2 coup attempts, 1 successful coup d'etat. For Sao Tome, 2 coup attempts, 1 was really successful. While for Senegal and Cameroon, we have just 1 coup attempt. With the rise of the military into power in some West African countries recently, one will begin to wonder the reasons behind such acts. Some pointed at economy, poverty, deprivation, greed of politicians in power, the total neglect of governance in this region. It's worrisome to see citizens of a country who just experienced a successful coup jubilating and congratulating the military for forcefully taking charge. One will begin to wonder if democracy is failing in Africa or African leaders are failing democracy. No matter what the reasons are, democracy is still the best system of government because it involves the people. But when leaders are elected into office, do they remember the promises they made to the people? It's high time African leaders woke up to their responsibilities to prevent a military insurrection. This cankerworm of corruption, greed, avarice, poverty, and negligence gradually eating deep into the fabric of our nascent democracy, thereby giving rise to military coup d'etat, must be stopped by any means necessary. Wilson Omasho reporting.